And welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Katawa Shoujo. In the last part, we met Rin, who is a very interesting lady. That's for darn sure. And we've sort of been roped into another person's project along the way. So we're carrying our heavy blue paint can, and we're heading down the hallway. The hallway is quiet and empty now that Shizune and Misha are gone, so we, too, leave towards the stairwell at the other end. Every 10 or 15 or 20 steps, I have to change the can from one hand to another because the thin handle cuts into my palm. At least it keeps my arms from tiring too fast. Rin strolls on beside me with an uneven pace that I have trouble matching. Or maybe I am walking weird because of the extra weight. It seems one of us is constantly walking too slow or too fast, and I can't figure out which. 2 flights of stairs below, trouble appears in the form of the head nurse and his fox-like grin. Ah, Mr. Nakai! What a happy coincidence! Tezuka too, of course. He nods courteously to Rin, who does not acknowledge him back, then turns to me, because obviously it's me who he has business with. There's something I forgot to mention on Monday. I nod and wait impassively, because I can't even begin to guess what he forgot. The feeling of the handle delving deeper into my skin doesn't make me feel enthusiastic about this interruption either. It's about your medication. Since you haven't been that long on your current medication, there might be some unexpected side effects, which might require adjusting dosages or even changes to another kind of medication. So we'll be doing a few tests regularly, but that's what excuse me. But what I'd want is for you to keep an eye on everything in your condition that feels off, if you get what I mean. Nausea, headaches, anything. And come see me if something happens. Alright. So, how are you? Everything fine? I give up and drop the can to the floor before answering him. Apparently, this takes longer than my biceps can handle. I'm about to say something generic as an answer, but then I realize how often I've done that lately. Other people have asked me that too, teachers and students here, my parents, visitors, nurses, doctors at the hospital. Everyone seems to be concerned about that. It's natural for a hospital, not so much for a school. Except this school. This is a small school, and both the student base and the faculty seem to be very tightly knit. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. And this is not the kind of school that gets transfer students too often. The thought sends shivers up my spine, but I give a generic answer anyway. That's great! Also, one other thing. My sources tell me that you have been at neither the school track nor the pool, so I'd like to know if you have taken up exercising as I asked. Of course I haven't, but this way of inquiring gives me the feeling that I should have been running my ass off on the track since the very first day. You have people spying on me? Not as much. I just happen to know a few people, but that's not the issue here. So don't try to slip out of it. Okay, yeah. Well, I was actually just doing some improvising weightlifting as an exercise. I pick up and lift the can up and down a few times, like some sad imitation of a bodybuilder, even though it weighs down on my arms painfully. Stupid grin disappears from his face for a second, then comes back. Okay, he was never gone. Tezuka, did you give us a second? The nurse grabs me by the shoulder without waiting for Rin's permission, which he didn't need in the first place, and drags me aside. When I told you to exercise, I wasn't joking. I understand that you are still on your first week and all, but please don't ignore the importance of this. The reason I'm coming down this hard on you is that habits are not easily to form. The more you slip and postpone, the harder it'll be. It's the same with everything like dieting. Can you promise me to make some to be more serious about this from now on? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I promise. Definitely. He studies me for a moment, then shrugs, smiling again. Okay, that's more like it. If you don't go to the school track tomorrow morning, you'll meet my spy. If you go to the school track, you'll meet my spy, who probably has no qualms offering consultation to you if you want to jog a bit. Consultation? See you around. He leaves with a wave of his hands and no answer, and I walk to Rin, who has been waiting, idly leaning against the hallway wall and staring at a pale lighting fixture in the ceiling. Even when I approach, she doesn't move her eyes off them. Are you getting medications for your heart thingy? Were you listening? Comes out more accusatory than I intended, accidentally lashing out at her. But even so, I don't really want to start talking about it. I just met her. I don't know her. It's not her business. The nurse seems to be happily ignorant about the confidentiality, too, talking about that kind of thing in public. But it's not Rin's fault, is it? I look up at her, suddenly feeling a bit guilty, but Rin is just staring past my shoulder quizzically, her head tilted like a bird's. I don't know why this is so hard for me. Feels like there's something inexplicably lack that prevents me from being more upfront about this. Yeah, they're for my heart. Will they make you better? No, not really. Just make me a little less worse. Rin keeps looking at me for a while longer, and she neither says anything further nor displays any kind of emotion I could discern. I'm thankful that she doesn't. I think I'm still not quite used to all this. At the hospital it was easy, but I still haven't sorted my feelings about having to live a normal life with this disability. We leave the main building and Rin leads us onward towards the dorm. We stop at a small patch of greenery in front of the dorm building. The dorm is built on a slightly elevated ground, with a wall and a few trees that everyone has to circle around every time they come or go. It's probably the only inconvenient design in the school. The entire wall, made of the same kind of bricks as the building itself, have been covered with some sort of painting. Most of it still mere sketches, quick lines drawn with black and white against the gray plastering that covers almost the entire length of the wall, but some places look a bit more finished. There are human faces and legs and hands. I can't quite say what the painting as a whole might portray. Stacks of what seem to be paint cans are arranged in a pile on the ground beside the wall. See? The left side is hardly off the ground yet. It's because I couldn't get in the mood yesterday, so I gave up and went to meditate instead. Then it was suddenly morning. I have to work on it, but the guys from the art class are helping with the negative spaces and base surfaces whenever, which is a problem. It's easier to paint big areas if there are a lot of people with hands. The reach is better. It's faster too. She goes on a tangent of a tangent, waving a little with her arm, or whatever it is there actually is, to demonstrate even though I got the point already. The white cotton of her sleeves flap around, and it makes me think it looks sadder than it does. But it makes me feel out of place, like almost every tangible reminder of the student bases special properties has in the past few days. This girl doesn't notice my dreary feelings, of course, or the fact that she lost me a while ago already. She just keeps on blabbering. So that's why I'm trying to figure out if there is something I need to figure out, and then figure that out, because it's too late and all hope is lost. Why would the hope be lost? Because paint has to be painted, and then it has to dry, and then it has to be painted over with another kind of paint. It takes time. She finally stops, apparently thinking she made some kind of statement that makes sense. I think it's best to start from the top. So, this is your project. You did this? Yes. Yes. All of it? Yes. Nice, but I stumble with my words, suddenly feeling like I've walked straight into a minefield of political incorrectness. It's okay. You can say it. Probably won't get mad. Probably. The big word in there is probably. Probably. Yes. I'm very acute. Ah, yes, this reminds me of my favorite proverb. Time. Distance. You know, that song. in Hercules. Anyway, I blush really hard. I don't really know what would be the right thing to say, if any. It feels like I'm way more sensitive than Rin is, though. This is really awkward. Don't you want to ask? How do you paint without hands? See? I'm an easy person to talk to, right? With my feet. I almost guessed that already, but isn't that hard to do? You're good at guessing. Anyway, I don't think it is, but maybe I'm used to it by now. I can't get my mind around the fact that she could be an artist, but seeing how adept she was using her feet to eat, I figured painting might not be a problem either. Either of us has anything more to add to the subject. The afternoon light looks pretty well. I was afraid it would look too flat, but it's not like that after all. I think it's actually pretty interesting. I wanted to see what it looked like in dim light. Do you think it's flat? Well, painting tends to be flat. Not like that flat, flat, like some people are. No substance, no meat. Where there should be some. I know a few girls that, okay, I get it. But that was good. That was a good interrupt. I know a few girls that, yeah. And then he's like, okay, I get it. But I couldn't really tell. I'm not that good with art. I can't name many artists or artistic terms. So I don't really have anything to say. Ren shrugs her shoulders at that, saying, suit yourself, without saying it, and looks up at the sky, as if trying to look for something up there. I didn't think I'd get any actual work done, but if you give me a hand with the paints, I could do a little before it gets too dark. I wanted to get a halogen lamp, like the ones they have at the sports track, but there aren't any. Ren sure is quick to recruit my help, as was Shizune. It really makes me feel that the festival is such a big project that every pair of hands is needed. Why not? I'm not really sure if I could be of any help, though. It's just mixing some paints. You could do that, probably. You have motor control. You don't have do you have motor control problems? Like, those people who have some? Very, very blunt. Yeah, you don't have those problems that those people have, do you? Those people with those problems have. Cerebral palsy, maybe? Oh, cerebral palsy. That was actually her. Not that I know of. I get it. Heart thingy has nothing to do with that. She gives me a sly look for no reason. No, it doesn't. Let's do it then. So she sits on an empty wooden box and very naturally picks up a wide brush between her toes of her bare right foot. I open a few of the cans and pour some of the contents into shallow bowls for mixing. The thick paint flows lazily from the can to the bowl like syrup. I mix them, creating funny, hypnotic, looking swirl patterns that melt quickly into each other to form a new monotone hue. Rin sets to work, even now and then, asking me for a hand with something or another. Finding different brushes is easy enough, but mixing the paints to be the exact tone this girl is apparently seeing in her head is a frustrating ordeal. She wants precision down to the last milliliter before she is satisfied, but her instructions are obscure at best. Add half of a splash of green. I crouch down to pick up the can of bright green. The other green, this green. Carefully pour some of the other green paint into the mixing bowl. No, it's almost a whole splash. More white. Is green a good color to add? No idea. You're the artist here. A hint of a smile appears in the corner of her mouth. Do you lack an opinion? No, it's just I have no idea. It's okay. It's because I got an idea. Add more white. With this exclamation, I pour a minuscule amount of white into the bowl and mix it. It looks slightly whiter? That's not good. It has to be like the color that when you wake up and you know that you saw the meaning of life in your dream, but you can't remember it. Maybe it's yellow. Oh, Jesus. Is that the true meaning and color of life? Is yellow? I mean, I've always liked the color yellow. It's probably my like second favorite color over green. So yeah, I'm one hue off from the meaning of life this entire time. I never knew. Despite the impossibility of mixing color like the change of seasons or any other nonsense that's being imposed on me, I find myself enjoying it more than I thought I would. Seeing a painting being bored on a plastered wall feels like magic. I spend the moments I had betwixt mixing paints, crouching down on the paving and just looking at her work. It feels slightly intrusive at first, like breaking some imaginary intimacy, but Rin doesn't seem to mind the least bit. Maybe it's just in my head. Her entire presence emits a completely different air as she patiently works the details, adding layers of paint on top of other layers of paint, steadily moving her hand, wow, that is a faux pas by me. Her foot, Jesus, I auto-completed that in my head. Oh man, that's terrible. That's a terrible faux pas. Moving her foot across the wall to add new shapes. When I manage to produce a passable mixture of paint, the rare smile on her face is oddly rewarding. Apart from the few words when discussing paint mixes, neither of us say a word for the longest time. And even though the short discussions soon evolve into a shorthand, both of us develop using weird impromptu code words for various paints and hues, as if there was some need to converse words and breathe and sound. Oh, to conserve words and breath and sounds. Yeah, that's the whole thing. We stay there late into the evening until it becomes too dark to paint properly. Damn, they did. It looks like they did a lot. Holy cow. The sound of alarm pulls me out of the fitful slumber and into the unpleasant state of wakefulness. I linger under the blankets for a few minutes, gathering energy to rise up while making excuses as for why I already have them. Honestly, I wouldn't have minded staying here all day. School's surprisingly exhausting after a long pause, and the culture shock still has not faded, I think. Still, despite getting an impression that skipping class is easy here, I don't think they are going to let me get away with that easily. And the nurse is bound to keep breathing down my neck with a talk of exercising as well. So eventually I do rise up, swallow the morning medications, and put on my old soccer clothing. Thanks to my condition, I was exempted from taking part in gym classes in Yamaku, so I didn't get issued with a gym suit. Or just outfit. I'd order some to cover such a contingency, but wearing my old soccer clothes is kind of nostalgic. I can't use them for that anymore, so maybe they can get a new life this way. A bit like me. After all, if I'm going to start taking care of myself, I can't afford to slack around. Let's start with the basics. Basics which include keeping the rest of my body in shape along with what little I can do to strengthen my heart. Maybe then I could go back to something approaching a normal life, or at least something where I'm less likely to fall over dead at any minute. I was surprised to discover that I'm not the only one present at the track. Not just that, but it's a face I've seen before. The prosthetic-legged girl who bowled me over in the hallway yesterday is running the track lithely, like a half-mechanical gazelle. What was her name again? It was a short one, but I can't remember. She seems to be running laps at a somewhat easy lope, her prosthetic legs clacking rhythmically on the hard track surface. I wonder what reason she has for running that easily in the morning. Maybe it's something akin to mine, and the nurse is oppressing the poor girl to jog, just like he is oppressing me. I certainly wouldn't be here if it weren't for my health, and his prompting me to do so. And even with things being like they are, it's only because I wanted to get out of the way early. The fact that I would be less likely to encounter someone who would witness my pitiful attempt to get in shape was merely a happy accident. I'd leave, but it seems that my former assailant noticed me on her last lap. She waves at me cheerfully and jogs over.
Good morning. Your name's Estelle, right?
She grins, seemingly pleased that she'd remembered my name.
You may not remember me. Emmy. I knocked you over in the hallway yesterday?
Miss Ibarazaki? She imitates Misha, imitating Shizune, failing to get the same kind of subdued lilt into her high-pitched voice. How could I forget such a blunt introduction? Emmy has the decency to look vaguely apologetic for a moment before giggling.
Yeah, sorry about that again.
Well, so long as you don't make a habit of it, I suppose I'll be fine.
Great.
Not sure she realized I was joking. So the spy consultant the nurse was talking about, is that actually you?
That's right.
Oh. I was expecting someone from the nursing staff, to be honest.
What, are you saying I don't look like I could be a spy?
No, this is just more like a relief. I was afraid he would have someone to watch my every move, unless you are here to do exactly that.
No, I'm here for my own reasons. The nurse just asked me if I had seen a messy-haired transfer student who looks like he's kind of lost around the track.
So why are you down here? Emmy strikes a dramatic pose.
Training.
For what?
Track.
Ah, yes. Yes, yeah, yes, yes. That would make sense. 'Cause we are on a track. Yes. I guess we'll continue this conversation next time. So take care, guys. Stay frosty, and I'll see you tomorrow.